If you're visiting with us today, we'd like to pay you a special welcome and invite you to join us downstairs after the service. Today, after the service, we're going to be having a special garden and membership committee potluck. So all are welcome to that, even if you do not have a dish to share, though of course your food is welcome too. The search committee would like to remind you that the congregational survey is due today, September 20th. As of Thursday, we had 27 completed surveys, and there are more than 27 people in this church. So the search committee would like you to know that that survey is available in the concourse right now. You can get a paper survey and fill it out. It can be turned in directly to David or to Maureen. And if for some crazy reason your survey is going to be turned in late, please call and leave a message on the office phone letting them know that that is what's happening. Next Sunday, September 27th, is our Scholarship Sunday Pancake Breakfast/Brunch. During coffee hour today, you'll have the opportunity to sign up to help with setup, cleanup, or cooking. See Roberta or Barbara during coffee hour to sign up. The TUC Cleanup Day has been rescheduled to October 10th, and the Fiesta Luncheon has been postponed until the spring. There will not be a forum next week, and next Sunday's September 27th, 11 a.m. worship service will be Hearing the Divine. In order to invite the divine into our lives, we have to make room for it. Minister Jennifer Nordstrom and Worship Associate Claire Callahan will examine what we need to do in order to hear the call of the divine. Once again, welcome to Third Unitarian Church.
Things are okay. We light this chalice, a symbol of hope, faith, justice, and love, and connect with all who honor those principles and Unitarian Universalists in the past, present, and future. Today's opening reading is Marginal Wisdom by Leslie Takahashi Morris. They teach us to read in black and white. The truth is this, the rest is false. You are whole or broken. Who you love is acceptable or not. Life tells its truth in many hues. We are taught to think in either or, to believe the teachings of Jesus or Buddha, to believe in human potential or a power beyond a single will. I am broken or I am powerful. Life embraces multiple truths, speaks of both and. We are taught to see in absolutes. Good versus evil, male versus female, old versus young, gay versus straight. Let us see the fractions, the spectrum, the margins. Let us open our hearts to the complexity of our worlds. Let us make our lives sanctuaries to nurture our many identities. The day is coming when all will know that the rainbow world is more gorgeous than the monochrome, that a river of identities can ebb and flow over the static, stubborn rocks in its course, that the margins hold the center. We invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing the opening hymn number 347, Gather the Spirits.
our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to our Time for All Ages. The theme for this month is invitation. So you're all invited first to enjoy our Time for All Ages. And the theme for today is also what we did this morning in RE, which is religious education. And that is, we drew from the sixth source of Unitarian Universalism, which is Mother Nature. So the book I picked for you all, for all of us today, is called Who Will Plant a Tree? How many of you planted a tree today? Yeah? All right. So I'll let everyone else who wasn't part of this morning's tree planting know. We planted acorns for in our children's play area outside. And the Little Leaders daycare that's here during the week will have little acorn oak trees popping up next spring, and we'll let them know that that was a gift from our children to their children, or they're all our children. So anyway, who will plant a tree? It starts out, I wonder who will plant a tree. Last fall, a squirrel buried an acorn. He didn't know it, but he planted an oak tree. There it's gathering roots and turning into a tree. Seeds stuck to the messy fur of an apple-eating black bear. The bear tripped, a seed fell off, and he planted an apple tree. Here we have a goose migrated with a chestnut burr stuck to her feathers. Miles away, the burr came off. She planted a chestnut tree. Maybe you recognize some of the leaves you studied this morning, too. Here, this one, I like this one, too. A dolphin pushed a coconut into ocean currents. The coconut floated to an island, and a palm tree grew. Oh, I definitely didn't know about this one. The ants marched a pine nut down into their tunnel. They didn't know it. They planted a pine tree. Here it is growing and turning into a pine tree. Cherry seeds caught on the tail of a wild horse, and she planted a cherry tree. Crash! A maple tree was planted along the riverbank by this beaver. So this I call it the helicopter leaves, or seeds. Playful monkeys throw figs at each other. They planted fig trees. It says, stop, don't throw food. Just throwing the food at each other. A moose got a pear tree branch stuck in his antlers. It walked, and as the pears fell off, pear trees were planted. Oh, this one is takes a little while to think about. All right, so an owl swallowed a mouse that had been eating elm tree seeds. Later, the owl coughed up an owl pellet, and an elm tree grew. So that takes some thinking about, right? Especially if you like mice, sorry. In the Amazon River, a pacu fish ate some floating fruit. It pooped the seeds, and trees were planted along the rainforest. you know how camels spit. So this one, a camel chewed some dates and then spit the seeds out. It wasn't long before a seed grew into a date palm tree. This one, a wren flies to her nest with a juniper berry in her beak. Oops, she drops it and plants a juniper tree. And last, but maybe most importantly, if these animals aren't around to plant the trees, who will do it for us? And just like you all did this morning, or have a chance to do later if you didn't get a chance to, we have acorns for you to plant. And here's a teacher teaching us all how to plant and take care of trees. The end. So, thank you for joining us for our Time for All Ages. What did you think of the planting the acorn?
We didn't actually get to study the leaves.
I think it's studying the leaves. No? What do you think the children will think when they see the acorn trees pop up?
We were really excited.
I'll tell them to look out for things that you like. Yeah.
But we actually have like four acorns next to each other, and we're hoping it'll grow into really interesting trees.
Ooh, okay. You planted 4 acorns next to each other, and it'll hopefully do something really cool and interesting. Nice. Thank you, guys. So, thank you for joining us for our Time for All Ages. I invite you all back to your seats to enjoy the rest of the service.
So as the children are making their way back to their seats, why don't we all settle in together by taking one big audible breath together. Okay, here we all are. A congregation is a community in which we share in one another's lives. We recognize that our relationships with one another are sacred, and we hold each other in love through both celebration and through grief. Today we light a candle to celebrate the life and to mourn the death of Anne Warren Wheat. Anne passed away on Monday, September 14th, surrounded by her family. She was adoringly remembered here yesterday at her memorial service. We send the Wheat family and all of Anne's friends and loved ones our loving thoughts. We light a candle to celebrate the life and mourn the death of Maureen Darcy's mother, Geraldine Darcy. Geraldine also passed away this Monday, September 14th. Maureen is glad her mother is long last at peace, having left a painful life and body that denied her freedom. She's also grateful there's a place where all hearts come to dwell together in peace. We light a candle of joy for Dorothy Wills, who has not had a dizzy spell in 6 weeks. Dorothy would like to thank all the women of Third that came and sat with her while she could not be left alone, and she would especially like to thank Kathy Jeans, who did a wonderful job of organizing that. We light a candle of joy for Douglas, whose joy is that this church exists. We light a candle in celebration for Len Pellegrino's 90th birthday, which he celebrated this month. We all wish Len another raucous year. Finally, we light a candle for all those joys and concerns that remain unspoken, but still move in our hearts. So I'd like to invite you into a time of meditation and prayer. Take a moment to find yourself in your seat. Settle in. Feel your feet on the ground. Your sit bones on the pews and that ground and pew pushing back up against you. Breathe into your belly. Let the breath go. Come into being, here and now. Spirit of life and love, Holy One of our being and our becoming, that which is sacred within, among, and beyond us. Remind us today of the beauty that is woven fine with the sorrow in this world. Allow us to be fully awake, fully present, and able to experience the world even as it shifts and changes. We can smell the wind changing, feel the air cooling against our skin. The season is turning, and us with it. This week we begin the slow turning inward, the taking stock of our lives and ourselves. Some of us have lost loved ones in the past year, and we remember them in this descent into fall. The seasons remind us of the cycle of life and death. We breathe in. We breathe in beauty. We breathe out. We breathe out awe. This season that we are awake and alive, may we all be brides of amazing. May it be so. Blessed be.
I see you, Mom.
She likes my attention. When I was a kid, it was tough to get attention from the adults in my house. I tried a lot of different things. I tried being really helpful. I tried being really sassy. I tried getting good grades in school. Nothing ever really worked for very long. But getting good grades in school got me the attention of my teachers. So I decided that I would get their attention and maybe get their love. I would raise my hand and I would know all the answers. Anytime a teacher needed a volunteer, I was there. Needed something done, I was there. My teachers paid attention and they loved me. My peers, not necessarily so much. I was kind of a teacher's pet. But I had learned at church that it didn't matter if my peers despised me as long as God and the church loved me and approved of me. It didn't matter if my peers despised me. So all I had to do to get God's love was to believe and be baptized And all I had to do to win the approval of the church was follow the law, follow God's law. So all I really had to do to be loved by God, approved of by the church, loved and approved of by my teachers, everybody who mattered, was to be perfect. Easy, no problem. And that stuck with me for a long time. I spent a lot of years of my life trying to be perfect so that people would love me. And I spent some time the last few years trying to unlearn that. I've done a lot of personal work, and I eventually came to a really begrudging acceptance that I was not actually perfect, wasn't going to be perfect, and that's just how things work. This summer I took 2 classes for seminary, and they were classes that you would think couldn't have been different. I took African American non-theistic humanistic theology. Say it with me. Which was a very heady class. We sat, we read, we talked about theology. And I took ministry as improv, which was a very embodied class. We played, we did improv. It was really a get up and go sort of a class. And in my theology class, Dr. Anthony Pinn told us that failure is inevitable. You're going to try and try and try. No matter what you do, you are bound to fail. In my improv class, the Reverend Derek Jackson taught us that failure, yeah, it was going to happen, and it was something to be celebrated. Because if you failed, that meant that you tried. It meant that you had the opportunity to learn something. And that really affected me profoundly as someone who was striving to recover from perfectionism. And I really took it to heart. And yet, when I sat trying to write my reflection for today, I sat in front of a blank screen for hours, literally for hours, writing and erasing, thinking and talking. I just couldn't get the words to come together right. I could not get it to be what I wanted it to be. I'm a seminarian now. I'm supposed to have words that are witty, that are clever, that are thought-provoking, and I could not make it perfect. I know what you're thinking. And eventually I figured it out too. And so I said, I'm not going to try to make it perfect. I'm going to stand up here. I don't have a script. I'm just going to talk. I'm going to say what is on my heart. And I think that the Reverend Jackson would be really proud of me today, because I can stand up here and I can say, I failed! I failed to write a perfect reflection, you guys. I failed. But we live in the world of both and, right? So I failed and I also succeeded. I succeeded in standing up here and speaking to you, and I succeeded in taking one more step away from my own perfectionism. And I succeeded in taking one more little baby step toward embracing my whole, imperfect, fully human self.
May it be so. So, speaking of things being imperfect, this is the part of the service that is not in your order of service today, called the offertory. We give not because we are obligated to, but because through our giving this community offers us meaning and support. We give not because it makes the church possible, but because the church makes all of us together possible. This morning's offering will be gratefully received. May it be joyfully given. Will the ushers please come forward? rise in either body or in spirit and join us in the responsive reading, which is an insert in your order of service. This responsive reading is famously memorialized in Turn, Turn, Turn by the Byrds, but it was first written in the book of Ecclesiastes. I'll read the regular typeface and you'll respond in the italics. To everything there is a season.
And a time to every purpose under heaven.
A time to be born and a time to die.
A time to plant and a time to uproot the plant.
A time to kill and a time to heal.
A time to tear down and a time to build.
A time to weep and a time to laugh.
A time to mourn and a time to dance.
A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them.
A time to embrace and a time to be far from embraces.
A time to seek and a time to lose.
A time to keep and a time to cast away.
A time to rend and a time to sow.
A time to be silent and a time to speak.
A time to love and a time to hate.
A time of war and a time of peace.
You will remain standing in either body or in spirit and join us in singing the sermon hymn number 52, In Sweet Fields of Autumn. And I believe we are singing verses 1 and 3 only, so verses 1 and 3 of number 52.